physical wealth. Hello, hello, hello. Today is Monday. It's Monday night, y'all. I hope it was a good Monday, but it is Monday Fun Day, and it is time for the Adroit Living session of the Erudition Network. Here I like to talk about mental health and awareness and try to get everybody talking about it and self-help, just self-help first. But it is February 3rd, 2025, and that means it's Black History Month, everyone. And it's like a lot of times people didn't really want to acknowledge Black History Month because it really messes with people's mental health. I get it. Because when I was younger in history class, I didn't want to talk about that stuff. I didn't want to know about any of that stuff. It was okay to know about things that were unrelated to me, kind of, sort of. But I could disassociate myself from that, so I wouldn't disenfranchise myself from knowing more about it. So it was like, all right, since we have to do it. But for me, it was a little more difficult and different because my Uncle Fred Shuttlesworth was a major part, a staple in the community for the Black History Month programs and the history of it in and of itself that paved the way to help schools be more integrated for African Americans. So it was like whether I was in school learning about history or at the family reunion or at home, I was learning about it. And I was like, whew, I don't really want to know anymore. Goodness. But it's History Month. It's Black History Month. And it's a lot of information to, share. And a reason why we keep sharing this information is because each generation needs to know. I saw a TikTok, and the TikTok was about a young lady who said Martin Luther King Jr. was a mythical character. And I'm like, what? And I get it. She young, she doesn't understand, and we don't listen to our elders the way we used to. Word of mouth is a lot. It means something. It is invaluable. That information that you pass down from generation to generation via word of mouth, from elders to the youngest, is invaluable information, and it helps with mental health. Because when you're gaslighting people, you don't understand, and there's no studies that currently are out here that show and pinpoint the amount of damage that it is causing. And when we finally get into the root as scientists and practitioners and philosophers and anthropologists and just people who are researching these subjects, when we finally get to it, we're going to see that there is a Pandora's box, how much damage has been done. And it's like, man, is it repairable? Can we repair the damage? A lot of the times we're going to start to see more studies that's going to be conducted about workplace gaslighting and consequences. So I'm going to put it out here right now and jump ahead, go binge watch some of the episodes that I put out there and see, I say things as plainly and as nicely as I can possibly say it, so people can be receptive to understand and receive and grow from it. So people are less reluctant to be mentally blocking this information. It is vital to understanding and vital to progression and prosperity. A lot of people, they don't really place the emphasis that's due on these things and their correlation in these manners, but studies show and statistics will prove it. This is relevant and is a strong association to how much money and prosperity and wealth people can gain, and mental health plays a major role in that. But this is a live interactive program, so feel free to write comments, ask questions, and feel free to just, even if it's about a previous episode, feel free to say whatever it is on your mind, to express yourself. There's no judgment. There's only a conversation, discussion, and hopefully some of the people who are able to help you that's watching will reach out to you and help you if you need help. But anyway, most recently we're seeing a lot of DEI talk, and that is strongly associated with Black History Month, because diversity, equity, and inclusion is a product of helping African Americans assimilate to the society in a equal manner, as opposed to not having pay and not being properly compensated for their work efforts. And we're still seeing that today, how people are like, I don't care what culture you're in. You could be white, person of color, a woman, whatever. Everybody's always saying, I want to be fully compensated for my efforts. I'm just saying. But women, Black and brown, and minority people are being put to the test. They're being challenged. Now, I don't know, and I've said it before, I don't know why people are trying to mesh Black history with the LGBTQ community. That's what they want to be titled. I don't know why they're trying to mesh those two together as if they're the same. We all need to stand as our individual bodies united. And that's vital. That's vital. That is one of the things we have seen in Black history, where we saw both Black and white people standing in their own individuality, identifying as who they are, and they were standing united for one cause. And that's what that diversity, equity, and inclusion is about. It is about everybody standing in their own truth under their own title and standing united for a purpose. When you have an organization, that's mixed with different mindsets, different people who came from different school backgrounds, different economic statuses, and they're coming together in the organization to help improve the organization, and they're striving towards one organizational goal. So it's not a matter of everybody saying, oh, we're all the same, and that's why we have this initiative. That's why we have this drive. That's why we have this way of communicating and prospering. It's not about that. It's about everybody saying one thing, uniting for one voice. And that's important. It's not about giving somebody versus awarding somebody something. And that is leading to a great deal of mental health awareness concerns, because people are misassociating the concepts of being given something, whereas somebody was awarded something because they earned it. So DEI is not about giving somebody an opportunity, but awarding them the opportunity to stand as an individual that they are, and contribute to one voice for one purpose, to say, this is the organizational goal. This is the unified goal. And because we have this unified goal, we're all contributing in our uniqueness, in our title, and understanding who we are, remembering who we are and what we bring to the table, so that we can come together and make this united purpose something that's prosperous, something that's, it helps to advance our careers and our fields, and inform theories, and even create new theories that work together to help other people to advance in their speciality or their field. I'm just saying, a lot of misunderstandings is going out, and that's a part of the workplace gaslighting and the consequences. The consequences are the mental health decline, and we're seeing it across the board. The mental health decline is derived from all the problems that's coming up. There's studies that support the understanding that when someone sees um, injustice in the workplace, it impacts everyone, not just the targeted person. So when we're sitting here saying these disparaging things about diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace, it's not just affecting the targeted group of people, which are women, people of color, and other minority groups. It's not about that. It is about the consequences that we have unfortunately seen where people are losing their lives. It's fatal decisions that have been made and that they were avoidable. These were avoidable consequences. What? Hey, Eddie, thank you for coming. Love is never having. And you know what? The world needs a lot of love. I remember back in the 80s and 90s, everybody was talking about love and it was starting to dwindle away. Can't come 2000, which is ironic because 9/11. And it's like, man, that's when we really needed that love. We needed to exhibit that love and understanding and that compassion for our fellow man. And all this infighting is when you have people who should be united, they're fighting against one another. And it's subdivisions of Americans who are fighting within themselves. For example, just before the presidential election, we had uh, African American men who were seemingly not as supportive with their African American women as they could have been. And that exhibited to people on the outside of the community looking at them as this is an opportunity for us to make or create more division. And the bigger picture of the fact that these are subdivisions of Americans infighting and perpetuating a greater divide within Americans communities, diverse communities. It doesn't matter. We're all Americans, and that American infighting has caused outsiders who are watching America, it is causing them to say, hey, this is my opportunity. I could come in and start some crap, throw crap and hide my hand and act like I didn't know I was doing that. I'm just doing what you guys are doing. I'm just here like you asked me to be in the capacity and context in which you are opening the door for me to do these things. And we don't want that. That's not what we need, because it has consequences that are leading to the decline and the more rapid decline in mental health. And that's the major problem. You can't clock or predict what's going to happen when people are absent of their mental health capacities. What'd you say there, Eddie? Folks tried to change the meaning of love. It's not all about flesh, but that's not what the world is teaching today. It's really not. It's not what the world is teaching. The world, and I say it on my show, people teach that because you love, you have to physically make love, and you have to have sex with people. And it's not about that. And I have so many friends that I love genuinely, and they feel that love. And I don't hug people. I don't like touching people, but they feel the love, though I've never even touched their hand. I've never even shook their hand. And I definitely never hugged them, but they feel the love. They feel it. I don't greet people with a hug. I say, hey, how you doing? And we just start talking, and you feel the love. That's love. And it doesn't have anything to do with sex. It don't have anything to do with intermingling our bodies and our bodies meshing with one another and all that touchy feely. It don't have nothing to do with that. It's about the love that you can feel. It's an intangible thing. And a lot of times people struggle with understanding the multiple complexities about the things that we cannot see, but we can feel, such as love. And it's like, you feel the love and you want to feel more of it. And touching me is not going to make you feel it more or less. It's the matter of the fact that that's the love. Hey, Jackie, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Speaking of love, Jackie, she gives some good loving, and she is not even here. She is virtually and communicating via chat. And but the love she exudes is like, wow, I really needed that love. Love was needed, love was given, and love was appreciated. Thank you. Thank you. It's like I don't feel the need, and I know a lot of people may disagree with me or call me crazy or whatever. And I don't feel the need to touch people, and I don't understand why people have to, touch people and hug on one another and greet each other with kisses and everything. I'm good, thank you. I'm good right here. You don't have to do all that. I feel it right where you at. Just stay there. I'm just saying. But anyway, the real problem is the target is not as negatively impacted as the witnesses and the bystanders who are inadvertently affected. So that's where we're coming with the understanding that there's something happening that's intangible that we're not able to touch, but we're feeling it. We're feeling the fact that a lot of people are, they're feeling what's going on, but they can't touch it. So they feel like they can't convey the fact that, hey, this is what it is. Hey, Derek, how you doing? Love, that's my bestie. He is my bestie. Um, I appreciate your comments and you being here. Please like, share, and subscribe. Go binge watch those episodes. What you say, sis? Yeah, I see. I know, right? And I appreciate these people because they understand that I'm not a touchy-feely person, but I'm a very loving person, very compassionate person. But I don't need to touch you in order for us to, have that kind of communication, because I'm dwelling in the fact that I can feel things I can't see. And I'm sharing that with these people, and they feeling something that they can't see and they can't touch, but they feeling it, and it's growing them. It's pouring into them. It's pouring into me, and it's making us grow. And just because you can't feel mental health, just because you can't see mental health, just because you don't understand the depths of the gaslighting that you are doing, it doesn't mean that you're not affecting people in a way that's going to exhibit itself tangibly and fatally. I'm just saying, and I've been saying it for a while. I really, really pray that people start listening. And I don't care if you don't like and share and subscribe, but if you share the message, it's about the message, people. It's about the message. And the message, a lot of times we don't understand that it's being convoluted and it's being taken apart and it's being misconstrued because people are adding to it and taking away from it. For example, publishers own the literary works that they publish. All depending on the publishing company that you go to. And a lot of times it wasn't like that a long time ago, 20, 30 years ago. It wasn't like that. So I didn't publish via those companies. But as a result of the publishers owning the literary works that they publish, they feel that they can therefore own the ability to use the works as they see fit. This is a baseline agreement which seems fluid. Fluid language can lead to gaslighting and mental concerns. I understand that a lot of people aren't aware of it, and people are playing on that lack of awareness, that lack of you understanding, because you haven't been touched by it. You haven't been physically impacted by it. So because you can't touch it, and because you don't understand what you can't see and what you can't touch and what hasn't impacted you personally, you feel like, okay, well, that's not relevant to me. There's no correlation to my mental health, but in fact it is, and I can prove it to you. And I'm not doing it via academia. I'm doing it here. I normally do everything via academia, but I'm doing things here live, interacting with you and for free and as a professional. And I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal, but I'm trying to help you understand I care, and I'm doing it because I care. So I hope you paying attention, and I hope you revisit those other things that I put out there so you can help yourself. And I put it in very plain terms as nicely as I can. I also put it in a book. So if you can go and get that book, that'll definitely help you too, because a lot of times people do not, you know, they don't necessarily, Teddy, can you bring up that book? They don't necessarily like to revisit videos or whatever. So I put it in a book really succinctly for you and easy to read. I'm just saying, we go out here and we buy books that's got a million typos and mispronunciations and misspellings of words in the English language and other languages. Go get that book. Generational Wealth, Information Asymmetry, and Your Success. Teddy, did you get that book up? Exactly, Jackie. Yes, it's a manipulation. And a lot of times people are calling it a word salad. And yes, words can hurt or help. And I do try my best to do what I can, but I can't force it on anybody. And I'm not here to convince anybody. I'm just here to present the message and you do what you do with it. You know what I'm saying? So you have free will, free range, do what you will, but just don't say you didn't know. That's all I'm saying. Because a lot of times people are trying to disassociate the mental concerns that's strongly correlated with these problems. And it's like you can't, because it's also directly affected to our prosperity and how much money we can make. I'm just saying. God is not mocked. God allows things people want to allow so that it can be used as an unforgettable lesson. A lot of times people are like, well, why is all of these things happening? Why would God permit these things to happen? Why do we have to endure these negative consequences or these undesirable consequences? Well, a lot of times we're not learning the lesson. A lot of times we turning our back to the lesson. A lot of times we burning those books that were written with facts, and we're rewriting and editing those books and then presenting those as facts because the publisher has the rights to the work, the literary arts and works, so they can do whatever they want with it. I'm just saying, don't believe me. Go find out for yourself. Look it up. Read it. I'm just helping you to understand what's happening. And I only have a little time to do it. So I don't have time to keep running these little fact finding things. I'm just encouraging you to go and see. But anyway, at the root of most lessons people must never forget is when good, knowledgeable, qualified, and intellectual people permit avoidable problems to occur, consequences will be innumerable or unable to be counted because it's so much. It's so much. Studies support that logic. That's why some studies go on for decades trying to track and count and measure what seems like the same genre of material, ideologies, methodologies, and theories. And in previous episodes, especially in the first year, I showed you some studies and I tried to bring it to your awareness in a free public forum so that you can understand and link it and see how it's impacting you. And as time goes on, they say you'll learn better by and by. As time goes on, we're seeing the physical manifestation of those things. And unfortunately, we are inside the consequences. I'm just saying, I tried to tell you before the consequences, because in life, everything repeats itself in different ways. And that means it's unavoidable for you to get the message. I'm just saying, it's not a Tina thing. It's a life thing. It's a cycle of life thing. I'm just saying. But meanwhile, while America is stuck revisiting elementary lessons, they're out of the out they're out of the real world advancements like tech and science and space exploration. And a lot of times people are like, well, what's the purpose? If this isn't what we're doing, revisiting all these things, if this isn't what we're doing, then what are we doing? Well, we're hindering advancements. We're hindering prosperity that we could be all dwelling in right now because we're revisiting these problems that have answers already. America is busy fighting battles that's already been won, done, answered, and moved on away from them. It is like, what do you mean? Why not revisit these problems? Why not go back? I'm just saying. What you say, Jackie? Lessons are consistent when we don't learn from them. We will go over the same lesson over and over until we get it. And when we've learned, we've turned to the next chapter. You know what, Jackie? I was really hoping we turned to the next chapter. A lot of people with this last election were hoping that we turned the chapter to advance from going backwards. But as we can see, we're revisiting a lot of past problems and consequences. For example, we have seen the unfortunate situation where we're still unraveling what exactly happened with this plane crash. And we're like revisiting the idea that qualified people must hold these positions of decision making. We have to have qualified people. It is not about, oh, you gave this person, you awarded the opportunity to this person of color, of minority, of diversity, equity, and inclusion, because we have it systemically in the program that they do not get the opportunity. So we have to create the room and the language and the laws that open the doors to permit the possibility for these people who we systemically close the door to. We need to open a window for them. Why? Because before we did that, we had these very problems we're revisiting today, where people who were qualified for the position were, one, overworked, two, stressed out, and three, unable to perform their duties as expected because they were stressed out, they were overworked, and pushed and forced to do things. You don't understand. Get my book. I told you who the target is. I can't put it to you any better than what I've already said. I've showed you generational wealth, information asymmetry, and your success. It's available on Amazon and Lulu, and you can ask for it wherever books are sold. Get the book. I very succinctly tell you, I provide sources so you can go and dive deeper into it. And I have other academic writings where I'm trying to show you without telling you, because I'm not biased. You can do whatever you want to do. That's your choice. That's your free will. And I'm not going to take it away from you because God didn't do it. He gave it to you. Who am I to take it from you? I'm just saying, you do what you want to do, but understand there's consequences. There's avoidable consequences as well as there are positive consequences. I'm just trying to remind you who you are and why you are. I'm just saying why for mental health. These are avoidable mental problems that we're currently living through again, as if it didn't happen in the 30s, in the 40s, in the 50s, in the 60s, and the 70s, and the 80s, and the 90s. But now we're starting to hear the news say, yep, this happened before. I'm just saying, people still ask the question, why go back? Why not go back? Well, please stop asking that question. This is why not to go back. This is why. Whenever a generation advancements enter a modern age and the older or pre-existing generation is unwilling to advance, the older or the pre-existing generation makes advancements almost impossible. That's not new. I'm just saying. So they have a lot of practice with blocking intellectual advancements. That's what we're living in right now. We're repeating that right now. American literature or studies is not taught in a manner which teaches students or those who study to conclude such understanding. It is not contrived for that purpose. Go back and binge watch some episodes. I'm just saying, American studies and teachings is contrived to do a few things which actually support avoiding learners' innate ability to critically think and advance naturally. Modern examples like gaslighting, that's what they title it now, is a very commonly known and used tactic. However, every generation has called it something else, like fallacy, white lies, etc., to make it seem harmless or otherwise widely acceptable. A lot of people who were not schooled in a traditional brick and mortar fashion, their elders used to say, "Oh, fat meat is greasy. Oh, you're going to bump your head just to find out that that brick wall is hard." But they're still educated. They're still wise. They still have common sense. They still have street smarts. And this is why, because these lessons are unavoidable. Facts are unavoidable. Hi, Matthew. Thank you for coming. And that's why I try to keep things very simple and plain, because young people are trying to learn and understand, like Matthew and other people who have learning disabilities. They're trying to understand what they can't touch. Their mental health is vital because they're still a part of the community. They're still a part of how we develop as a whole, as Americans. And we're seeing it more now, where we see people booing at sporting events when the American national anthem is sang. We're seeing it more and more across the board, because now we're doing things, we're taking things back in a time and place before we had that camaraderie. We're acting as if we don't have that camaraderie. We're acting as if we can avoid that kind of mental health and that prosperity and that advancement in the workforce, in the workplace, and the genres that feed us and pour into us and help us. These tactics are in alignment with gaslighting, and they're also said to be a rabbit hole. But let me stop you with that. Stop referring to these things as these undesirable darkness with intentionality that's unexplored depths, that has unexplored depths and unknown consequences, because we still haven't conducted enough studies to pinpoint the consequences as scientists and academia. We haven't really adventured down that road just yet. But stop referring to it as a rabbit hole. People know and fully understand rabbit holes and their and rabbits. We know what's going on with those rabbit holes. What we don't know is these so-called rabbit holes would be more appropriately labeled if they were called black holes. I'm just saying, black holes meaning a gravitational force which pulls everything in its vicinity into it, and nothing escapes. Nothing. Nothing escapes it. Nothing competes with it. Nothing can remain in its space and not be touched. Not logic, not light, nothing. And that is more in alignment with what we're seeing. And that's a part of that unseen, unspoken thing that's happening that we can't touch, but we can feel it. We're living it. We're having an interaction with it, though we can't completely convey what that is. And we can't enumerate the depths and the correlation and the things that is linked to, but I've tried to show you here. And in academia, go back, research Tina Phillips, find my academic writings. And you smart, see if it's been edited. I'm just going to tell you like that. And I'm just saying, I'm going to move on. Americans would be phenomenal in space exploration and advancement because they specialize in black holes. I'm just saying, it's not just outer space where this is a matter that we are speaking these things into existence, and therefore it has a tangible manifestation. I'm just trying to tell you, I'm not the author of these ideas and understandings. Albert Einstein discovered black holes to the Americas vocabulary during his era, but the concept was long considered in the 18th and 17th centuries in America. I'm just telling you things that's been said and done centuries ago, and I'm trying to help you understand the correlation and the consequences as it relates to you today and your mental health today and now. What you say, Matthew? I wish that life knowledge was like a white hole. I don't know what a white hole is, Matthew. I'm gonna have to look that up. Anyway, there were times in history when great thinkers and doers, philosophers and academics and practitioners introduced things which were not accepted because it was too advanced or it was not presented by the prominently accepted group of people in the area. Now, why did I label it that way? Why did I phrase it that way? One, to be nice. Two, to help you to understand the languages and how it changes from era to era. Sometimes they weren't called academics and practitioners. They were called philosophers and great thinkers and things of that nature. I'm not trying to give you a history lesson. I'm just saying so that I can speak as plainly as possible for the point to be made and well understood. But a lot of times people they get things misconstrued because they playing these word games and they changing the definitions of them. I'm just saying, what you say, Matthew? From my knowledge, a white hole is the opposite of a black hole. It spews out everything. It is theoretically and has never been seen in the history of time. Thank you, eighth grader. Are you smarter than the eighth grader? Apparently not, because I didn't know what he was saying. Um, I don't do the camera and lights and things. I get nervous and I'm not thinking. That's why I refer to my notes. See, I'm just saying. But anyway, have you ever said something profound and someone asked you, where'd you get that from? And they roll their eyes. I'm just asking because I'm like, here we go again. Back to understanding the publishing companies. Let's go back to understanding that and the loopholes they use to navigate the system while they alter, revise, edit, or manipulate literary works. And what purpose is that for? So that when you try to put information out there for people to understand what's going on or whatever and source that and say, well, this is where I got that information from, they can say, oh, okay. Now you just exemplified and personified something that they're not going to directly have the guts and the maturity to tell you to your face the way they should that you don't know nothing. They're going to go around about and tell you don't know nothing. And they're going to tell you why. Because the publishing companies about 20 years ago changed the languages and the loopholes, the legal loopholes. I'm just telling you, you can go back and look or not. But sacred books were not tampered with like older literary works were. So if the Bible book of Ephesians says there's nothing new under the sun, then understand your questions have already been answered. And why did it say in the Bible not to add or take away from the messages that's in the Bible? Because it knew that that's what would happen because it happened before. There's the Apocrypha, there's other books that came before the Bible. And a lot of people say that there's other books of the Bible that's out there that we aren't privy to. But we still struggling to eat on this Bible. I'm just saying. But anyway, it's time to implement those answers in your modern time because these consequences that we're forced to endure right now, we don't want to revisit it and we don't want to keep going through them as if we don't know how aviation works, as if we don't know how hierarchy in the workplace works. And what I mean by work, how it properly functions in a manner in which provides prosperity and peace of mind and proper mental health. That's what I mean by works. So it's no question where you get your information from. That's not the question. But the question is, how are you going to put your uniqueness to task for the modern age and convenience? You don't need validation from other people awarding you things they can't award you. Just because you earn it don't mean that they can award it to you. You still who you are. You still smart. You were born smart. I try to explain that to you. You were born smart. And just because people can't compensate you and can't fully compensate you for your contributions, don't mean withhold it. Put it out there, especially now while you have the opportunity to take the platform for yourself and go on YouTube, go on all these social medias and tell your lived experience and share. And now with all of these DI protests and boycotts, it's creating a room for a lot of people to be fully exposed and put yourself out there, your contributions. Before it was blocked. So be grateful. Be grateful for these times of adversity and division. Be grateful for it and take this opportunity, because in these times come greatness. You you don't need nobody to push you. You don't need nobody to validate you. You go out there and put yourself out there. The platform and the avenues have been made now. The window is open. The door is closed. I'm just saying. Stop being distracted by what people say, ask, do, want, pay, or otherwise incentivize you for. You are who you are, even if no one knows your name but God. That's facts. You made your way through a lot of hell, and the people did it on purpose and told you to your face behind closed doors, outside of the cameras, or even in front of the cameras, and they told you that they hindered you on purpose. They blocked you on purpose. They coveted your intellectual property or your contributions on purpose to hinder you, to block you, to prevent you, to discourage you, to disenfranchise you. And they didn't care about the mental consequences to society. They don't care about your particular individual mental health. They didn't care about that because it wasn't a consideration. Thank you, Matthew. Yes, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. And if you don't do anything else but share, please share. I'm just saying. History shows the world is not set up to fully know, acknowledge, reward, award, or otherwise care about knowledge, skills, and ability and proper recognition. We know that. So why are we dwelling on that instead of saying, let me use that to propel me forward? I understand that the sacred book that's called the Bible told us, thank your oppressors. Because if it wasn't for them, the window wouldn't have been open, because the door wouldn't have been closed, and you still be trying to perpetuate a broken system as opposed to deviating and going on the manner in which is going to prosper you and advance in the way that you were compelled to do, as opposed to feeling obligated to follow a perpetuation of a broken system that's increasing the decline of mental health and global despair. We don't want that. And we're all saying that. We all said that. I'm just saying. So don't allow the lack thereof to prevent you from being you. Let alone lead you to forget who you are. Don't forget who you are. It's a bigger picture. And that's why I'm saying these things the way I say them. There's a bigger picture. Some people intentionally do things to cause problems, and they ask, well, who are you going to tell? Who are you going to tell? Because they want to know. Let me get to this comment. What'd you say, Matthew? If there's nothing new under the sun, when the first time anything happened, and how can we tell this isn't the first time? Those are good questions, Matthew. I'm happy you asked. We can only tell by reading that Bible, because that Bible was unaltered. It is about lived experiences of different things and people. I'm talking about prostitutes, whores, liars, backsliders. What was it? Everything you can imagine. It's in there. Poetic, The poetic book of Job. I'm just telling you, you gotta read though. But and what do you read? Read that. Read books that were unaltered but written in the 18th century at the very least. But a lot of the material that was written then were only brought to the more modern 18th century, but it was written and introduced in earlier centuries. I'm just trying to tell you. But anyway, look at how old the Bible is. I'm not trying to tell you to only get your fact based on there, but I'm telling you that there are books, there are sacred books that were written and predate the publisher's ability to alter those written literary works. How can you find it? How do you know it isn't the first time that these things have happened? I'm just saying. Thank you for asking your question, Matthew. But people ask, where do you get your information from? Because they want to know so they can get ahead of you. There's different ways to get ahead of you. There's firing those capable of supporting logic and intellectual advancement, or at the very least, maintaining logic and current advancements. There's also changing and amending or adding new laws and loopholes which supports chaos and prolongs the pursuit of happiness or anything intellectually advanced. So when people ask questions like young Matthew there, and no, I don't tell him what to say or anything, but I do give them material to read and tell them critically think on your own. And I encourage that because I don't know what's innate in him until it exposes itself. I don't know what's innate in anybody. I don't care who they are. And I used to work for, I was once employed for you with United Cerebral Palsy. And the people who had cerebral palsy, I just gave them room to be who they were. And they proved themselves to be more advanced than what people realized on the surface. And that was one of the last day was the day of 9/11. And a lot of people, they didn't give any consideration to the communities that they don't have any contact with, like the people who are in the workforce who have special needs, such as cerebral palsy employees. But those people are so consistent, they're so routine, and they're so anal retentive to this goes here, this is the way this is done, this is how it is most efficient. And the efficacy in the workplace, we're gaslighting people to think that, oh, the efficacy is what it should be so that we could prosper the way we prosper. Yet the investors and stockholders are like, well, if it's that, then why are we not seeing the finances the way we should? Gaslighting, I'm just saying. But it is those people who we include in the diversity, equity, and inclusion label that would have not have ever gotten, they would never have gotten those opportunities because the door was innately closed systemically. But the window of opportunity via the DEI, the diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, which were windows of opportunities, which allowed those people to come in and help improve the efficacy of the organization in the workplace. I'm just saying. But due to such maneuvers of loopholes and firing people who are going to support the intellectual advancements, and we have seen that. I've said it before. I'm just saying it again. We have seen it now this last week. Due to such maneuvers, too big to fail companies fail. The impenetrable has been penetrated. Common sense is not common. And wrong is forced upon people as though it is right. We're seeing it. We're living it again. We're living it again. Too bad facts are stubborn and care nothing about perversions of truth and facts. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you. What you say, Matthew? By the way, thank you for 2008 subscribers. The first video over the channel was 4 years ago. Thank you, Matthew. See, that's a faithful fan right there. I really appreciate all the viewers. I appreciate all your attention to my unique approach. I appreciate all the people to the Erudition's unique approach and getting this information out there, even though it's free. And I appreciate those people who go out and purchase the books to help you to have something tangible to stand on. I'm just saying. But back to the topic. There's a significant reason for having qualified intellectuals in leadership roles. No one had to relive the undesirable consequences to remember why. We didn't have to relive these problems. But I told you, when we keep going on the news and we say things like, oh, this doesn't happen in my neighborhood, this doesn't happen here, this never happened before. My God, we had just opened the door for this to happen again and to be our lived experience in this modern day. Start acting like you know. That's all I'm saying, because your mental health can't take it. Can't take you going back when we supposed to have advanced from it, because you already privy to a life lived as though those things happen, even though you acting like you're unaware they happen. So if you try to go back because you opened the door to the opportunity of revisiting that as though it never happened, your mental health is going to struggle. And because of that snap and that break in mental health, because you're like, no, I'm privy to this. And you're going to say, well, you just said a moment ago that never happened in your neighborhood. So let's revisit that. Don't do that. We can't do it. It's avoidable consequences. No one had to relive those consequences. Yet, here we are again. Now, once again, people ask, what's the answer for these things? You don't denounce intellectual advancement because you don't prefer the author. And that's what happened.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
That's the root of the madness right there. Because we didn't prefer the author of the advancement, we deny and denounce that the advancement ever occurred. Because we don't like that a lot of the DEI that people have seen has been has been presented in a manner in which a window was open where the door was closed. We mad about that. Apparently, some people who are currently in leadership roles that have the ability to close that window. I'm just saying. Some people intentionally do things to cause problems, and then we act like we don't understand what happened and why it happened. And that's when we encounter these consequences that were avoidable. And that's why we have these mental health breaks and we don't see it coming. We don't see who is going to cause the fatal problems that were avoidable. We don't see it. You see it. I'm just saying, you see it. You don't want to accept it, though. People have made it very clear. There are some Republicans and Democrats across genre who are setting aside intricate tiffs or little disagreements, and they're funding and supporting the right mindset and democracy, which included diversity, equity, and inclusion ideologies, principles, behaviors, even if they don't title it that. And I told you what you can title it. You can title it a strong developmental currency, because that is the consequences of this kind of inclusion. That's the consequences that we want. That's what we were looking for when we decided to call this land America, the melting pot. That's what we were looking for. And if we wanted something else, you can just go to those countries who and those continents who's already doing that, because it already exists. It's already there. But here in America, what we said was we wanted to bring in a lot of people, great thinkers, regardless of their differences. Whatever those differences and those barriers are, we wanted to avoid those, and we wanted to say, hey, let's see what we could do together, put our minds together, put our intellectual property together, and advance. And America was leading the way in a lot of ways. And it had a strong currency, far stronger than what it is today, and more people in it before we had 2020 global pandemic. That's actually saying it 2 times. Global. A pandemic is global. It's in the word. It's innate in the word. But I said it that way so more people can understand it. We're not trying to revisit these things as though we don't know the answers to them. We have the answer. America is DEI. America is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And when we close the door and act like we don't understand that that's what America is, we just reopened the door and said, let's do it all over again. But you're not ready for that. You're not ready for that. You don't want that. I'm just saying that's why these boycotts are existing. What you say, Matthew? I'm very angry. I was born during these times. I wanted to see the world a little bit more before desperate. I get it. And it does seem like a depression. And it does seem like in 2020 we were in a recession, and now in this same leadership, we are revisiting the recession and depression. I get it. It's avoidable though. The answer is here. We have the answers. What are you going to do to implement them? What do you say, Eddie? Some of these delusional folks want a melting pot that has only one ingredient. Isn't that like, I don't want to use a big word, so I'm gonna be as plain as simple. I don't want to say like some people have said undisputable with Dr. Rashad, but that is that's not smart. I'm just put it that way. One ingredient, how can you have a melting pot with? Okay. But anyway, a lot of people who have diverse backgrounds, such as Republicans and Democrats, they have the diverse background. They have come together, but they haven't made their voice publicly known and announced. But at the appointed time, and if you in the faith, if you in the church, you've heard this so many times, at the appointed time, it is not just a church thing. It is a fact thing, a facts. Things repeat themselves. And the answer has always been at the appointed time. History shows the appointed time back in history. The appointed time was to show and take a public stance was during Civil War. I said it on my show so many times before, because mental health is something I am really strongly passionate about. Don't act like you didn't know when you reliving this problem again. The appointed time back then was during Civil War. A lot of the people didn't agree with what was happening, and they didn't say anything to the people that looked like them because they wanted to get along and go along. But at that appointed time of the actual physical, tangible war, not just the intangible feelings that we were interacting with, but the tangible acts of That was the appointed time when they said, okay, now I'm going to show you where I stand and I'm not going to take it back. But it's fatal. There was lives lost. There were avoidable lives lost in that civil war. We already had a lot of lives lost in the pandemic. Do we really want, can we afford to lose more lives? Do we really want that? There's problems associated with that we won't know for a long time. Let's see. I know it's been an hour. That's been my time. But I'm not asking for civil war. I'm praying we don't go back to the lessons of old. And that includes the Civil War. And this time, it won't look like it did the last time. It's not going to look like it did the last time because the majority, regardless of what all these statistics that's being sponsored by people who are obligating those statistics to be skewed, regardless of them telling you that the majority wants these problems, they don't. Don't wait until it's obvious that you're in the minority mindset and behavior and you completely wash out because you did it to yourself. Don't wait. The workplace gaslighting and consequences is what we are living right now today. And it's avoidable because we have the answers. We know the answers. And we're trying to do away with it because the author wasn't what you wanted. It wasn't who you wanted. Because the author, I'm just saying, give credit to where it's due and advance. And if you want credit for something, do something. Do something worth having credit for, but not coveting and taking things back just to relabel it. I'm just saying, workplace gaslighting and consequences is causing a great decline in mental health. And I hope you like, share, and subscribe. And if you don't do anything else but share for your mental health and those around you, because you don't want to be in the midst of somebody when they have that mental break and you don't know where they'll be and where they came from because they travel. I'm just saying, let's avoid this. We are united. Stop the infighting. We're all Americans. We have allies. We have camaraderie. We have unity that we didn't have a long time ago. Because we had problems that we've solved. We don't need to revisit that. Turn around while you still have breath to breathe and the ability to turn around. I'm just saying, it's not for me. It's for everybody and you and me. It's not solely for any individual, but for everybody as a whole. Because we are one body, but we are many parts. Plain and simple. Don't covet those parts. Be proud of those parts because you are a part of those parts. You're not being replaced. You are a necessary part. Don't take yourself out. Don't eliminate yourself. Don't exclude yourself because you think you're getting along with somebody that look like you when really you can't see their heart. God can. And God has compelled those people to do a thing, and they will do it because history shows that. Don't be on the outside looking in. Be a part of the party. I'm just saying, that's been my time. Remember, mental health is physical wealth. See you next episode. Mental health is physical wealth.